Hey everyone, my name is Ada. Welcome to my channel. Today's video is going to be about why my best friend dumped me. So the most popular video on my channel thus far is called My Best Friend Dumped Me. When I was making this video, I really didn't think it would get so many views, but it did. And a lot of people have been wondering, why did your best friend dump you? Especially after so many people shared their own stories. So I thought, okay, I guess it's about that time to just kind of tell you what I had to go through and why I felt compelled to make a video about it, because it was such a difficult time in my life. There were a lot of different reasons why my best friend dumped me. I guess the umbrella way to put it would be just that like my life was really fucked up and I became a different person just because I was so lost and so confused. I was about 25 at the time, and I was working in the city. I was working in Manhattan, and I had a semi-good job. I was making pretty good money for someone my age. I was working in finance. It's not what my degree was in. My goal in life was never to be in finance. It just kind of happened because I chose to, major in something that I love and that I'm good at, and that was journalism. And if you know anything about the creative arts, it's just that it can be very hard to find a good job. So I ended up taking like a lot of various odd jobs here and there, some for long periods of time, but I just found that, you can have a great college education and still not make enough money to like have an independent lifestyle. So finance really wasn't what I wanted, but I felt that it was a way for me to start earning more money, start learning to assert myself in the real world, and kind of just like start my life, I guess. I ended up working at this place for about a year and a half, and the reasons why I left and the way I left are all interesting and dramatic and belong in a movie. But the whole thing that happened with my ex-best friend probably was about maybe, I don't know, like 6 months into my employment, where I worked overtime. In fact, that's not true. Where I worked very quickly, I began to realize just how many drugs were at my job and how many people were doing drugs. And it was almost everyone. The business I was in was the merchant cash advance industry. It was just an endless revolving door. And if you ever end up in that industry, that's one thing you'll learn very quickly. In the merchant cash advance industry, what that business is it's a cash advance for merchants, business owners. So it's a loan for business owners. However, the difference between a merchant cash advance, and there's a reason of why I'm bringing this up, I swear to God it's all relevant. The difference between a merchant cash advance and a regular loan at a bank is that when it comes to merchant cash advances, it's considered unsecured financing. That being the case, you can get approved for that money, like within hours. You can have money in your account like the very next day, because you're working essentially with a private lender that you have a specific contractual agreement with. The reason why I bring this up is that particular industry just, it has its own atmosphere and its own type of people. A lot of people that get pulled into that industry can be people from like any walks of life, but the way that the payment structure is set up is that it's a commission-only business. Almost always it's commission-only. If you're lucky and if you're good at what you do, some places will, offer you some kind of like small hourly rate or like small like weekly pay that they give you. But for the most part, they tend to prey on people by selling them this dream, which is like, oh, the amount of money you can make is limitless, like there is no limit. You can make so much money in just a short period of time. All you have to do is close these deals, and so on and so forth and so forth. So the environment that I was in was just with people of all different walks of life, some like college educated, some from the hood. Everyone kind of sold this dream about like you can make all the money in the world if you just work really hard. Now, I was lucky because I actually had a much more administrative role. I was hired as a personal assistant. I was paid hourly. I didn't work in sales. My role over time was like pretty significant. Like my boss would close the door and I would kind of be left to manage and oversee what all the employees were doing. And so I was given like a personal assistant role that turned into like a semi-managerial role. And even like a partial like sales training role, like I had to kind of coach people on what they were expected to do and how to work with clients and how to sell and things like that. And in any case, just like a high pressure industry. For sure, it's not the stock market. For sure, it's, you know, not what so many financial jobs can be about. But in its own way, it was a lot. It was interesting. In some ways, it was exhilarating. In many ways, it was funny and kind of unreal. But I mean, drugs were everywhere, and everyone was doing drugs or dealing drugs or trying to get drugs. And for me, I don't know why, but I just felt like I got to this point in my life where I thought, okay, well, I have this job, I make good money. It's stable. I have a routine. I'm good at what I do. And I think that, you know, I've really built some kind of a foundation for myself. And for whatever fucking reason, I thought that this was a good excuse to allow myself to partake in drugs, because I thought that, you know, now in my life, I had something to lose, and that I wouldn't throw my life away. You know, I briefly did drugs in high school when I was about 16, but I learned very quickly how addictive it can be. And in particular for me, I used cocaine. I learned very quickly how addictive it could be, and that really scared me, and I stopped. And then in this company, I just kind of thought, you know, well, you know, maybe I can do it recreationally. Maybe I could be one of those people, like, you know, maybe my life doesn't have to be doomed and I don't have to become like a full-fledged drug addict. Maybe I can just do this like on the weekends or like every couple of months, and it's like not a big deal and it doesn't ruin my life. Oh, but unfortunately, it really fucking did. And wow, it's actually really shocking. It's disturbing how quickly your life can just like spiral out of control, and mine totally did, you know. So when I first started like with the drug use at the job, I was like already a couple of months in. I had asked like one of my coworkers, like, hey, you know, like, do you know where I can get like, you know, some stuff? And you know, he like was just like a pothead, but he was like, you know, I know a guy, I don't usually do this, but you know, you're pretty cool, so, you know, I can get you some, and I can give you his number because I don't do this. I was like, okay. And so it started off like once every like couple of weeks, once every like 3 weeks, for example, let's say. I think it was like once every 3 weeks or once a month for like a couple of months. And then gradually it went from like once a month to like once every 2 weeks. And then even faster from there, it just went to like every single week. Like, and when I say every single week, I mean like on the weekends, right? And then the one thing that happened that I never thought would was that eventually it became like every couple of days. And, you know, I'll get a little bit more into that, but, you know, the whole thing that happened with my friend, you know, I did admit to her that I was using recreationally. I didn't tell her the extent of my use. There was no way for her to know or really, you know, find out about it. Our friendship didn't like disintegrate like when I got really bad with it. It kind of happened like in the middle, from when I went from like starting to like when I got really bad. But so like in the middle of all that, you know, I was also in a relationship, and the relationship, you know, it started pretty much about a month after I got my new job. There was this girl that came in for an interview, and she was so animated and like crazy kind of, but I thought she was like really cute and quirky, and I thought it'd be cool to have like a chick friend, a chick coworker to like, you know, talk to and stuff, because the merchant cash advance industry is just like dominated by men. And it can be an intimidating industry for a woman, and over time I learned it's really not a place for a woman. It's really not. But yeah, so about like a month in, this girl came into work, and I actually got to interview her, and that was really cool. It was just like, you know, learning a little bit about her. I didn't realize at the time that she was like a full-fledged cokehead, and that would explain her quirkiness and like overly upbeat behavior. I just was ignorant. I really just didn't realize. But so I liked her, and she was looking to change careers, and later I found out what it was that she did. And I know she eventually got out of that life, so I'm happy for her, because I can't imagine that was ever easy. But so she wanted to change her career, and she thought, fuck it, I want to give sales a try. Maybe like, you know, maybe I can be good at this. So she gave the job a try. I don't think she stayed more than a week, but within that time we kind of built this, like, we kind of had like a bond, because I think I just really wanted a friend. And, you know, like, yeah, I had this job, but in many ways I was lonely, and I had gotten a new apartment fairly recently, and I just kind of had like really no one to hang out with. You know, when I found out that she was also doing coke, you know, I asked her like, hey, you know, can you maybe hook me up with someone, because I need a good dealer. And so she, you know, she reached out to her dealer. He wouldn't be around for a couple of hours. Work was about to end. It was like 5:30. And she said to me like, hey, you know, we can like go smoke some weed at my apartment if you want. And so she was in Brooklyn, so we took the subway, we went to her apartment, and, you know, upon entering, she introduced me to her roommates, of which there were two. And she had this roommate, and we both kind of, when we saw each other, we were like deer in headlights. I don't know. I guess it was love at first sight. And he and I got involved very quickly, too quickly, and became very serious very quick. We became committed instantly, and over time I realized, you know, he wasn't for me. And when I say he wasn't for me, I mean I was in a really awfully toxic relationship. I mean, we were together almost a total of 8 months, and he was incredibly jealous. You know, he would flip out when I didn't pick up a phone call, even if I was at work, even if I'd call him back a couple minutes later telling him, hey, sorry, I was at work. Like, he would flip out. He was just overly suspicious, incredibly jealous, and also really violent, and that fucking scared me. And I just felt conflicted. Like, I had this drug problem. I had this boyfriend, you know, and we became like so connected so quickly. I really was not just infatuated with him, but I really loved him, because I tried so hard to understand him and to work through everything, and, you know, try to just see him for what he was, which was like just a struggling person, just dealing with like some shit in life that really kind of destroyed him and made him be like, you know, overly suspicious of others. And I tried so hard to make it work, but it was eating me up inside. And when it came to my friend, I just, you know, I had known her ever since I was 5 years old. So we had already been friends for like 20 years. I thought if I could trust anyone, you know, with my troubles in life, I thought it would be her. And I don't usually run to people like for advice like every 5 minutes, and I didn't run to her every 5 minutes, but pretty much every day, like consistently. I would text her and tell her what was going on, and kind of like beg her for her advice, you know, and she just felt that because I didn't take her advice, you know, that I wasn't worthy of her friendship. And, you know, I think that's something people need to learn, is like, just because you give someone advice doesn't obligate the other person to fucking follow it. Like, you gave me your opinion, great. You think it's the best thing for me, great. It doesn't guarantee I'm going to do it. You know, some people do learn the hard way. Some people need to come to certain conclusions on their own. She basically told me like she had enough of me, that like I really need psychological help. And I just was like so shocked, man. Like, everything became very apparent, you know, why she had pushed me away for all these years. And it just turned out because like she had a very low opinion of me. I just thought it was really fucked up, you know. Like, I really trusted her, and I tried so hard to like see her more often and make time for her, and I wondered why, like, you know, I wouldn't see more of her, and it was just because, you know, she had more entertaining friends to be around, and she just stopped caring, and I guess she wasn't really capable of being a friend anymore, you know. So she told me, like, I need some space, and like, you really have serious issues, I think you need help, and I don't know, man. And for me, I was just like really appalled. I couldn't believe that, like, this wasn't even a conversation we're having in person. Like, it was through fucking text messages, you know what I mean? And like, that may be like the modern method of communication of our times, but like, through a fucking text, it's like, I know you for 20 fucking years, like, you see my life is fucking crumbling, and you're gonna fucking tell me in a text message that not only do I fucking need help, but that, like, you're out, see you fucking later. Yeah, man, I mean, I was like so upset beyond all possible belief. I mean, I was crushed, and it really hurt, you know, for a long time. It still does, obviously. 5 years later, she said she didn't want to be dragged down by me, and that she said I was the most negative person she knew. And I found that to be really fucking ironic, because dudes, I can't tell you like what a valiant effort I've made, like, over the years, trying to be a positive person. Like, I went through my spiritual phase when I was like, from like, I don't know, fucking 15, and like, I don't know, 15 to like 20 or something. But like, I had this like really super spiritual phase, and you know, I really tried to like live in the moment and like read all these like Eastern spiritual texts, and I really tried to live positively and like be grateful for many things. And even during that time, I don't know, maybe I really lost sight of all that. Maybe I was super fucking negative, but I just thought it was super fucking ironic, because she was always the one who was like really cold and like I don't even know how the fuck to explain it. Like, she definitely wasn't the positive one either. So I don't know, I just found it to be really fucking ironic. Yeah, and I mean, at that point I kind of realized where she stood, and like I said, everything just really made sense, like why the friendship was just kind of like dying. And I just told her, you know what, dude, like, fuck you. I told her, like, fuck you for not being a friend. Like, fuck you for not being there when I really need you the most, you know? Like, fuck. In the last video, when I talked about this time in my life, I described it as like, when fire fucking surrounds you, because that's really how my life felt. It just felt so like out of control. Eventually it got a lot better, and eventually I really found myself, and you know, there was a lot more that I learned from that time in my life, and it got much more worse before it got better. You know, and that's how my best friend dumped me. She just said I was out of my mind, and she just thought, fuck it, dude, like, you're crazy, and like, you can't figure it out, so see ya. Well, that's all that I have for you guys today. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you for listening. And if your best friend dumps you, dude, I don't know. It's going to be okay. I don't know how, I don't know why. I just fucking know it needs to be okay. Because you need to just kind of like move on and live your life and live it fully, as they say. Take it easy. I'll see you all soon. The channel is coming back around. I'll be back around.